Mount Manresa is literally a religious icon and had been a religious weekend retreat for thousands of New Yorkers in search of a durable and spiritual set of values, which can too often be forgotten in our predominantly material way of life. And Mount Manresa is an iconic open space, occupying a pivotal geographic location at the very gateway to Staten Island. Its development would engender a new level of cynicism, mistrust, and malaise among those Staten Islanders who have come to think of Mount Manresa as an inviolable environment and engender a general mistrust of an economic philosophy whose central goal is to grow the economy regardless of environmental and quality of life consequences. Extremist environmentalists who recommend a ban on any new development, regardless of its environmental feasibility and purpose, would inspire many new followers, especially on Staten Island, with a recent history of robust annual residential development. Solastalgia is a recently recognized, psychologist peer-reviewed psychological disturbance which afflicts those who experience rapid negative change in their environment. This psychological disorder was well understood by Staten Islanders long before the psychology community finally recognized it. Developing Mount Manresa is precisely the wrong way to prove to Staten Islanders that some natural areas are tantamount to sacred ground. In this case, quite literally sacred ground. Those in the best position to act must act now. To whom much is given, much is expected. The American naturalist Aldo Leopold said, quote, "The shallow-minded modern, who has lost his rootage in the land, assumes that he has already discovered what is important." Unquote. Our new philosophy of economic growth uber alles believes that developing sites like Mount Manresa is the correct way forward. Leopold goes on to say, quote, "It is only the scholar who appreciates that all history consists of successive excursions from a single starting point to which man returns again and again to organize yet another search for a durable scale of values." Unquote. Until recently, the Jesuit order was the keeper of a spiritual flame, fanned by the dedication and the funding of thousands of Christian devotees. For more than 5 generations, more than a century, faithful pilgrims sought spiritual guidance at Mount Manresa, an inspiringly elevated and forested landscape, a spiritual lighthouse on a hill for all those dwelling below and beyond who may lose their moral compass. The century-old founders of this sequestered Christian spiritual retreat recognized the value of a rarely isolated and protected environment, protected from the influence of encroaching human development and the wanton materialism that too often follows in its wake. 2 millennia have passed since Jesus Christ found spiritual refuge in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. In this wilderness, far from the material distractions of an urban environment, the Christian embodiment of their Heavenly Father released his soul from the fetters of carnal temptation and material gain. Mount Manresa is not a wilderness, nor is it now a Christian retreat house, but it is a 15-acre sanctuary for historic and iconic Christian monuments and buildings, and scores of ancient, irreplaceable trees, some as old as the Revolutionary War, and enchanting stands of old white pine. And enchanting stands of old yellow tulip and red, white, and black oak. Mount Manresa is also a much-needed, benign, natural oasis for the overbuilt environment which relentlessly encroaches upon it. If Mount Manresa is going to be another sacrificial offering to that insatiable God of growth, it will be further proof we've lost our spiritual mooring and our sense of place among the millions of species of God's earth, among which we are mandated to live in harmony. The struggle to save Mount Manresa, a 15-acre parkland, and its historic buildings, is not about a handful of tree-hugging, environmentally passionate activists determined to have their own way. It is about doing what is best for the community of Staten Island. During the past 6 months, Mount Manresa has become symbolic of a community desperately seeking to retain some of the vanishing open spaces that distinguishes the borough of Staten Island from the kind of thoughtless development that characterizes so many other communities throughout the nation. When the enduring values of healthful natural services and spiritual traditions provided by Mount Manresa are weighed against the temporary jobs and huge profits for a few developers, preservation is clearly the most economically and environmentally prudent way forward. Mount Manresa's sprawling parklands and historic and religiously iconic buildings will reassure and rekindle the spirit. Its hundreds of ancient trees will help purify the air we breathe. The tree-sheltered, quiet open spaces will ameliorate the noisy commercial distractions of an unsustainable pattern of overdevelopment on Staten Island. And from a purely practical financial perspective, precluding the development of hundreds of new architecturally redundant townhouses will also preclude the need for expensive new infrastructure, which is too often subsidized by already overburdened Staten Island taxpayers. And this, perhaps above all, Mount Manresa's preservation will help many politically jaded Staten Islanders restore their faith in their elected officials who too often make promises they fail to keep.